Welcome back to Info Not Wars. A couple of things I wanted to touch on today that have been big news items. One is the Daniel Penny trial, as well as the assassin in New York with the CEO of United Healthcare. First, the Daniel Penny trial. I've heard several conservative Republican commentators say that justice was served by finding Daniel Penny innocent, and I would say that is probably one of the worst uses of the term justice is served by referring to this particular case, in that Daniel Penny should have never been in jail. The only justice that was served that day, or in this whole thing, has been the justice that he served out to that nut on the train in New York who were threatening people and so on and so forth. And thankfully, we have a Daniel Penny that says, "Not on my watch." And he was willing to put himself in harm's way to help someone else. And thankfully, there are still men willing to do just that. The miscarriage of justice, in my opinion, this guy, as far as I know, Daniel Penny, did not have any type of record, served honorably in the United States Marine Corps, was not a flight risk, and there should have been no reason why he could not have been released and given an ankle bracelet or something instead of wasting a year and a half, however long it's been since he was first incarcerated, of his life in his mid-20s. And so it's a terrible, terrible day, in my opinion. Number one, when he was arrested and held, because obviously he was guilty and had to be proven innocent. And so anytime our justice system is allowed to get away with that, regardless of what state they're in, it's just a terrible day, in my opinion. So I'm thankful that the jury had enough sense to look at the evidence, and the people who were there on the subway. Nobody on the jury pool was on the subway, from what I understand, but the people that were on the subway saw this thing go down and went to bat for Mr. Penny, and yet the government pushes that aside, and to the point to where the guy nearly spent the next 10 to 15 years of his life in prison, and from my understanding could not have been pardoned by any presidential action, since it was a state matter and not a federal matter. So obviously, I'm glad that Daniel Penny did not serve any more time than he was already robbed from, and that he is out. These BLM folks, the big dude that was shouting and carrying on and so upset, as well as the short, round black gal that was doing the same thing. These people couldn't fight their way out of a wet paper sack. They're so ignorant. And they would spew the hatred that they were spewing, just the stupidity. It's not even ignorance, it's just stupid. They know, or should know, or have the ability to know the facts of who the man was who lost his life, and the situation that occurred where Mr. Penny intervened by this man saying that there are white vigilantes. I assumed that he was talking about Mr. Penny, and there should be black vigilantes, and okay, whatever. That white vigilantes, again, Mr. Penny able to strangle the life out of a black man, that black vigilantes should do the same, or be able to do the same to white men. That's kind of how I took it. Well, okay, I mean, your First Amendment rights, if you want to scream fire in a crowded theater, I believe you should be able to do that. Now, the repercussions of somebody taking you behind the woodshed and teaching you a lesson or two, that's probably understandable as well. So I agree that they have the right to say and to spew all of this crap that they want to. They let the Palestinian protesters do it and all this other stuff. So why not these guys, right? I feel like there's a double standard, though, that if I, myself, being a white guy, were to get up and say, okay, white vigilantes to the, rescue or whatever, and start choking people out, I would have the police, FBI, or whatever the case is, every alphabet agency kicking my door in and dragging me off for hate crimes and who knows what else that they would try to plaster me with, as they did with Mr. Penny. So I'm not a hero as Mr. Penny is. I'm not trying to say that whatsoever. He certainly is in a different category. So I hope that, and I feel certain that most black, brown people who are not white, such as myself, understand that these people are stupid. They're trying to incite some type of riot or, I don't know, whatever, more confusion. Instead, what they should see is that the government themselves, whether it's on the federal level and many times on the state level, as we saw in New York, they are the ones who are trying to divide us. So I'm sure that there are many things that I would agree with that black guy and gal. I guess they were BLM. I don't know who they were from, but they were so upset that Daniel Penny was found innocent. I'm sure there are things that I could find in common with them. It wouldn't be this particular case, but there are going to be things that we have in common. Why can't we start there? We can have disagreements, and it's good to have disagreements. It's good that not everybody agrees. I've always been told that if two people agree on the same thing all the time, then one of them is not necessary. There's a lot of truth to that. So anyway, like, share, comment, whatever you want to do. If you don't mind, please subscribing. But anyway, I'm going to get back to guns, I promise. I just wanted to touch base on that and the assassin. So chapter 2 coming up. Hey guys, so chapter 2 of this whole deal, we'll talk about the assassin that murdered the United Healthcare CEO. Let me preface what I'm going to say by saying that I wish New York had the death penalty and this guy was fast-tracked to the whatever it is that they decided to snuff this dude's life out with. The CEO, regardless of how good, bad, or indifferent you feel like you are towards him and what he did or possibly did or whatever, is beside the point. He was murdered, and the murderer should suffer the consequence for that. So I do not condone the murder of the CEO, United Healthcare gentleman. So with that, I would like to say, as I have mentioned on other YouTube channels that came right out of the gate as far as this guy was a pro or he wasn't or whatever. When the very first time I watched the video, I was sitting on the couch with my wife. We watched it, and immediately two things stuck out to me that this guy was not a pro. Not even close. Number one, give me 1 second. I'm back. Okay. So number one would be gloves. It was very easy to see that this was a white person. Could have been a woman, of course, but typically men are going to be the perpetrators of this type of crime. And he did not have gloves. Now, I'm not an assassin. I've never played one on TV or anything else. However, I've watched enough Hollywood to know that an assassin wears gloves. And typically, 2 pairs of gloves. Now, the first pair, of course, would be like a latex glove. A black latex glove. Well, why latex? Give me 1 second. A normal pair of gloves, right? Just a normal black pair of gloves. So why the latex? When these will keep you from printing your fingerprints, right? Why latex? Well, latex, waterproof, right? And if you know anything about guns and gunpowder and all of that, and especially shooting suppressed, you know that a lot of that crap is going to come out of the gun, right? he shoots in front of him and then he walks in that direction. So not only does he shoot, and that gunpowder and mist and so forth can get on you, will get on you, and then you walk right through it while that stuff is still in the air, obviously is going to get on your clothes. So you don't want it on your hands, right? Very easy. Well, the other thing was the backpack. So the backpack, when I first saw it, I thought, man, that looks like an expensive backpack. But more than that, it was a completely different color from what he was wearing. Well, assassins on TV, when they wear their backpacks are the same color. Well, why would that make any difference? Well, the main reason, in my opinion, and from what I've seen on Hollywood, is that the backpack, just like a cheap JanSport, some kind of Walmart, black, whatever, doesn't matter, backpack at night obscures how big somebody is. So they can kind of get an idea of height, but not really weight so much, because that black backpack is going to blend with the black hoodie, gloves, and so on and so forth. So they can assume it's a male, but they don't know whether it's male or female. They don't know if it's white, black, they have zero idea of who this person is with just a couple of changes. And with the black backpack, it just makes their job much more difficult. So this guy was not a pro. Fast forward a little bit. So we learn before he's caught eating his Happy Meal again. Anyway, they don't do that in Hollywood. They don't go to McDonald's and order a Happy Meal. Now, so we see another time where he, I guess, was being friendly with someone at the motel where he was staying, a hostel, which I thought there was a horror movie named Hostel, and I've never really thought of a hostel in a good way. So a motel, maybe that's just a fancy way of saying hotel, motel, whatever. Well, in that, what he does is he takes his mask. Now, it shows two or three different masks. It shows like the little black spandex type thing that he had over his face, and then it came down below his nose, and however that happened or slipped or whatever. But then he had a surgical mask on, not only in the taxi, Uber, whatever, but also I'm guessing when he was talking to the young lady or the woman or whatever. Well, they make these in black as well, right? So now what do you have? Besides the beard, of course, you've got that much more that you don't know about the subject. And then no glasses, no dark glasses. So a professional, and I would assume they're human, so they will make a mistake. This many mistakes, not a chance. There's no way, if they're out to murder someone, that they're going to take a chance. Maybe if it's a Lolita, is that what they call them? I don't know. Some kind of lady that's designed to, get you out of your comfort zone or whatever. Then possibly exposing his face, but that is just terribly, terribly unrealistic in my opinion. Now, the gun, and from what I've seen, the ammunition looked like ball ammunition. So just ball ammunition. Nothing fancy to it. Doesn't expand or anything else. Not a choice I would think, what I've seen on Hollywood, an assassin would use. Because ball ammunition continues to travel, and there is a stronger chance of someone surviving that type of shot versus something like an HST or some expanding round inside that's really going to do a lot of damage, tear a bigger hole, and all of those types of things. Much better chance for actually killing a subject. The gun itself looks like, to me, and I told my wife, I said I assumed, I guessed it was a clock. Obviously I didn't know, but that it was a plastic type striker fired gun, just from what little bit obviously, that I could see and everybody else has seen. Well, so it looks like it's a Glock design slide and so forth, and that the lower was either an 80%, or maybe he had a file to spin one up in a little machine, or whatever the case is. Regardless, he kept that. Ay, ay, ay. So you could take your well, I don't want to get into all the particulars. Let's just say the guy's not a professional. Obviously, we know that now. But as I was looking through that and seeing all of this come about, it was just more and more that I realized, man, this guy obviously had a vendetta. There's probably still more to the story as far as how he knew where this guy was going to be at what time. And so early in the morning, like an hour or two before the actual meeting began and so forth. So again, there's some things that he may not have been working alone, or had information that he had compiled by himself. I hope they're all caught, and I hope they are all brought to justice. We don't need assassins running around. The government has plenty of those. And if they wanted that guy taken out, they could have done it themselves. So this guy should see a quick end, possibly behind bars, whoever maybe he's rooming with at some point. So anyway, tell me your thoughts down below. Did you know that he was not a pro? Now, he was proficient. Let's talk about that. So what I've got here obviously is my Glock with my suppressor. This is a factory gun. It does not have a factory slide on it. And if you've seen my video of this thing not running properly and so forth, there's a very good chance that these things don't just, you put them all together and then you go bang, 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 and you shoot them and everything works, right? So when he fired the gun, he was very quick to charge or clear the weapon, right, to eject the spent round and put another one in there. It seems like because of whatever he did or didn't do to the lower, it just wasn't functioning properly. A professional that's going to do what he did to someone that makes $10 million a year is going to make sure that this works every single time. So this guy was thankfully he wasn't a professional in all reality, that he was pissed off and or whatever his motivation was, and decided to take matters into his own hands. It's unfortunate for this guy's kids. I understand he was going through a divorce and all of that, so his wife, she may not care, I don't know, but it's terrible that these kids of his will not have a dad, regardless of how good or bad he was. He's no longer around, and so just a terrible situation. All right, guys, stay tuned. We're going to have more. We're going to get back to the gun stuff and get away from all the rest of this. Thanks for watching. Please subscribe if you've made it this far. That'd be fantastic. We're closing in on 1,000, but we still got a long way to go. Thanks.